Hey everybody, welcome to Workforce Gaming. I am Brad, here with Doug.
Hey.
Not
Not randomly.
I played Nier Replicant. Sometimes I feel like when I play an old game, it's just like the most random thing that comes up, but it's like, no, I've like been watching this game for a while and just finally found it for like a price that I felt like paying for it.
Yeah.
So I guess that's not random. But I finished Nier Replicant version 12379643142
It's a formula. It is like something like the square root of something over 2 or something like that. It actually is like, yeah.
I'm sure it's something, but it's not something I'm ever going to remember or ever need to know. But I played through this game. I guess just to get backstory here, I'd never played the original. Nier Automata is a game I always have weird feelings about. It's one of those games that I feel like I loved in the minute, and like looking back on it, it's like I don't really remember why I loved that game, but I feel like you know those games where like you play it and you're like, this is so cool, and a year later you're like, did I like that game?
I feel that way with Resident Evil 8, but yeah.
yeah, I kind of have the same thing with Resident Evil 8, where it's like, maybe.
Yeah.
But Nier Replicant comes before it and set. The timelines on these games are so weird. I think thousands of years before it, but pretty much completely detached. I was at the point where when I played this, it'd been so long since I'd played Automata, there were a couple like things that I was like, I think that's a thing from Automata, and I would Google it and go, oh yeah, okay, it was. So there were like a couple carryovers, but nothing like, oh my god, 2 B's in here, da, 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 da.
Yeah.
So with Nier games, again, I think it's good. There's lots of, I feel like Nier, you have to preface so many things with Nier.
Sure.
So Nier is also a game of endings, like multiple. Like, so I think you need to specify how many times you played through a Nier game before you can talk about it.
Sure.
This game has 5 endings. I got the first 2, so I played through it once all the way through, got ending A. Ending B starts you about halfway through the game. Played through that, gives you a little bit of different stuff that we'll talk about in a second. And then there's endings C and D, which I watched on YouTube, which are from the original game as well. And those, you just got to do a lot more collecting stuff to get those, and I'm not about going through and collecting stuff.
Yeah, I heard because with Nier Automata you just have to keep playing it, but I heard with this one like you actually have to collect all of like this type of weapons or something, and each weapon has a story, and each weapon has a weird way of getting it, and that's the only way you can unlock the true ending, which is bullshit.
It's lots of like, I think there's, if I remember, because I looked at it because I was like, okay, is this like a reasonable ask? And it was like, oh no, it's like borderline 100% completion, because it's like you have to do X number of story missions, you have to find these things kind of just randomly, you have to buy them from the store, so you have to get a bunch of money, you have to do, so it's like that. Not about that. But C and D, you do that, and then ending E is where all the new stuff is.
That sucks. That sucks. You have to get through that much stuff just to get to the new.
So you have to play through the game, the back half, collect everything, and then play through. I think if I remember from what I looked at, you start at the beginning, you play the beginning half this. Anyway, I got through the first 2, so just so you have an idea of where I'm coming from with this, that's what I know. I've seen all the endings because I YouTubed them, because I was very, very curious, because the story in this is super, super interesting, and I wanted to kind of see where they went with it, because again, that's kind of part of the thing with Nier is, as you play through these endings, you're getting the story filled in more as you go.
Yeah.
All of that out of the way.
We're now hitting 4 minutes.
Now, 4 minutes in, we can talk about Nier Replicant, the game. The game is very cool. I think that's the one thing that if you've played Automata, it's very stylish. It feels really good. Everything about it, it's so cool. You start off the game with this tutorial, and then you finish the tutorial, and it goes like 1,342 years later.
Yeah.
And then you're actually in the game. So this like tutorial section of 20 minutes, you jump like 1,300 years, and then you're in the game. But the story starts out really, really basic. Like the basic thing is your sister has this disease. Go help her. Okay. That's the story for like the first probably 6 hours. Your sister's just sick. You should probably help her.
Yeah.
And it's this really slow thing where it's like, okay, well, if you go across the world and you talk to this guy, like he had this remedy for it once, you can go talk to him, and you go talk to him, and he gives you some stuff, and it's like, okay, well, that didn't work. Well, but I know these other people and they had some ideas about it. Why don't you go talk to them? And you go talk to them, and well, that doesn't work. And you kind of go through this whole thing with your sister for the first half of the game, and then you hit kind of this really pivotal moment that's really cool, and that's when the story like blows up into this crazy near thing where there's like the Shadow Lord, who is this evil, giant, ominous presence that you know nothing about other than the fact that he's super evil and wants to like maybe destroy things, but you're really not sure.
Yeah.
It's a lot of, again, kind of fill in the blank things as you go, where as you get closer and closer to the ending, you get the like, oh, so that's why that's happening, so that's why that's happening, so that's why that's happening.
Does that result in though in a story that's not interesting for 6 hours, and then it's like, I guess at what point, because you said like it kicks in at 6 hours, but is there just so much mystery that like really until you get to the end it doesn't really coalesce, or is it interesting in that the story is told in an interesting way that maybe the plot isn't necessarily, but the story is told in an interesting way and the characters are interesting or something like that?
So a few points on that. I will say right underneath simple story to start, my second note is lingers way too long.
Oh.
So it does
Sure.
it is nice for probably the first couple
Yeah.
hours, but it definitely has that like, okay, we've stayed at the like just go help your sister point a little too long. However, I will say that because you're kind of gaining combat abilities there, once you hit maybe halfway through the game, you pretty much have all of your combat abilities.
Yeah.
So it has the nice part of in the beginning, you're kind of collecting combat abilities. So you get new magic, you get new things to do. So that helps it go because the combat's kind of evolving in that first half.
Oh, sure. Okay, yeah.
And the game really, for the most part, takes place in like 6 or 7 areas. So you're seeing these all for the first time, and they're all very, very well done, very interesting areas to go explore.
Mm-hmm.
There's a couple that like I got there and I was like, whoa, this is just very, very cool. The one that comes to mind, it's maybe the second or third place you visit, is just like a city on the side of mountains with just like long suspension bridges connecting everything, going back and
Oh,
forth across. And it's one of those areas where you like walk in, you're just like, whoa, okay, how am I even gonna get around this place? This is very cool.
Mm-hmm.
And again, you're getting elements of the story as you go through. So like one village in particular, like everybody just thinks you're there to murder them. So you walk in and there's like everybody's hiding in their house, and you go like, you need to go. I think you have to go talk to the mayor in that one if I remember correctly. And it's like you go up to each house and they're like, no, don't. No, leave us alone. And every house you go to is just somebody screaming out the door at you as you go through the house.
Yeah.
As you go through the place. So it has very, very cool things. Again, I think that's where the first half is interesting by exploring the world. The second half is interesting because of plot elements. Is I think the way that this game kind of works. So again, there's another land that's really cool. One of the ones you go to where everything is rule based, but it's like rule based in like a near way where it's like rule 3600 states you can't use the boat until you say hello to the guy at the gate first.
and then I assume you don't know the rules, so you're constantly like bumping into
and it's
the
just
rules
like, and you're just like
fun.
sitting there like, what the hell is wrong with these? It's very, very interesting. Again, that kind of stuff is just so cool, and I think that's what Nier does so well, is this kind of this world building, slow burn world building, slow burn storytelling.
Before they all burn it down at the end.
Yeah,
it's usually how a Nier game goes. It's like, oh, you love all these characters.
It's definitely one of those games where, so again, the first half you're trying to help your sister, the second half of the game you're trying to collect, or you're trying to get all these things, and once you get all these things, then you have the ability to get into the Shadow Lord's like tower castle thing. And it's one of those things that's like, okay, you got all the things, go to the castle, and from there it's like major story, like sure, nothing you knew was correct. Everything has changed now. None of what you thought happened has happened. Everything you did meant this, not that. And it has that all like in that last like hour and a half, 2 hour chunk. So it's really cool. It's a ton of fun. The combat is great. If you play,
I was wondering about that because it's actually not made by Platinum, because Platinum that was the big thing with Platinum and Nier Automata. They did the Platinum combat, and then this one was not. So I was curious, is the combat still like pretty good?
It's pretty good. I don't think it definitely was going to say it doesn't quite hold up, I don't think, to Automata.
Sure. Yeah.
But I mean, it's definitely one of those things where it's like you've got different weapon types that control differently. You've got your big heavy swords that slow you down. You've got spears. You've got short swords. You've got all the kind of the different combat elements you can play with. You get magic. It plays very similar to Nier Automata. I do think Nier Automata has a little bit of a step up on it, just in terms of it, because I mean, again, you've got Platinum developing it versus just these guys. Not to, not, that's
Great. These
that,
guys, hilarious.
that was not a hit on them. That was a like I genuinely don't know who did it.
Yeah, yeah, we forgot to write that down. Yeah.
I don't know. It's Square
Yeah.
somewhere. Yeah.
I guess one thing I'm always kind of curious with these games is the characters, because that's always the thing I really liked about Nier Automata. It wasn't necessarily even the main cast, but like usually the side characters were always like
Yeah.
really interesting, intriguing. I'd say that's almost the Yoko Taro, the guy who directed the game originally. Like that's usually his MO, is like really interesting characters who are not necessarily the good guys, even though you're the ones playing as them, and that kind of thing.
Yep. So, and again, I don't want to get too much into the
Sure.
not the good guys type of thing because this does do some things not that
Sure.
blatantly obvious, but I don't want to get into too deep into that type of stuff. But the characters are very interesting. Your character is kind of just more so generic protagonist,
Yeah.
but in Ending B especially, you get a very different perspective from him. Ending B kind of I don't even know. I don't even necessarily want to say too much because I think it gives away something just in the way I would phrase it.
Sure.
But Ending B definitely gives you a different feeling for your main protagonist than you'd get from playing through it the first time. The side characters, though, Grimoire Weiss, who is the book that follows you around and
Yeah.
shoots the magic, is fantastic. He's kind of the like old timey, what the hell are thou art doing all of the time type character.
Sure.
Like, you're all so stupid, like that kind. And like by the end, like he's like, you start out by calling him like, oh, so you're Weiss. Like, no, 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 you will use my formal name, like that kind of stuff. And it's, I am Grimoire Weiss. How dare you insult me by calling me Weiss? How dare you? Like
Yeah,
that kind of
yeah.
stuff. It's just, and he's kind of the one that's in your ear the whole time as you're, because he's just the book that floats like above you. So he's in your ear the whole game and is a very well written, very interesting character that plays a major plot role. Kaine is kind of, I think that's the easiest one to get into, is the one that you described as like the good guy, but not the good guy.
Yeah.
She very much is the like, we're just gonna go murder all these bastards and move on with it, and they're in our way, so screw them, that kind of thing. So she's very
There's like
interesting.
weird swearing in the game. Is there like it's like really aggressive characters? Like it's not just
She
like
she in
typical
particular.
JRPG.
She in particular, and I think I actually sent it to you, is just even in the intro, it's actually a line from probably 75% of the way through the game, but in like one of the like intros that starts, if you like linger on the start menu, is literally she just yells something like, will you just fucking shut up, we're gonna go kill that fucking bastard, you mother. Like, and I'm like, oh fuck you, Shadow. Like, and it's just like, I haven't even pressed start. Like, what is this game?
It's kind of weird because it's a Square RPG, isn't it? It's a Square game,
Yeah,
isn't it?
yeah.
Yeah, that's really
So,
funny.
so it kind of comes out of nowhere, but she is very interesting as well. Again, I don't want to get into context too
Yeah,
much for
everybody's spoilers, I
ending
assume,
B,
yeah.
but again, ending B is really really good because it gives you, that is like the context ending. Ending A, I think if you just play through this game once, you're like, okay, like that was pretty cool, I get it, like fun game, and you have hints at what's coming in ending B a few times through there, but once you hit ending B, you get so much filled in that you're gonna go like, oh, okay, everything you see the characters doing kind of hits a little different, feels a little different, just because of
What happens? Yeah.
what happens at the end of the game, what you learn, and how the perspective changes. And again, I'm trying to be vague about it, but it's super interesting. They do so many cool things. There's so many things that feel good, but you feel like are there just because it's like we ran out of time or money, but they actually work really well. There's one section in the main game where you go visit this tree, and it's literally just like a 10-minute black screen with white text.
Okay.
Like,
Yeah.
I mean, 10 minutes might be an underestimate, not an overestimate.
Are you just like, is it like a visual novel sort of thing, or is it just like a block of text that's
It is-
slowly moving
no,
forward?
it is a black screen with like white sentences pop up. You hit X, more white sentences pop
Oh
up.
my
You
God.
hit, like, no pictures, no nothing. It is voiced, but it's like just this, but it works really well just in the context of like slowing you down, and it's a section that gives you a couple key plot points. So it's like, okay, we're gonna like really focus in on this, and it almost makes you go, okay, wait, what's happening? And then you're like, oh, okay, this is like a big deal what you're telling me right now.
Yeah.
So I think it's almost that like, okay, we're gonna slow it down here, more so
Okay.
than more so than just I mean, it's probably there for budget, let's be honest, but
Sure, yeah. I'm just wondering if it's like one of those things where it's like it's kind of fun when like a game introduces like a weird idea, but sometimes the
yep.
weird idea is just kind of annoying. Was it so? It's like is it? I
It's
assume
it's
it's. And
so
your
it's
games
a,
are always kind of on that
yeah,
line
on
of
that
like,
line,
is
yeah.
this cool or is this annoying?
So again, it hits once
Yeah.
in the entire game. It's one
Okay.
10 minute chunk in the entire game. Ending B, when you go back to it, I was just like, oh, this again, okay. And I sat there and like click, 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 and then as I clicked, I went, oh, damn it, I'm pretty sure that was a new text line. And then instantly like reloaded my save and went back. Like, okay, you did change up a couple lines of dialogue in here. It
That's
does do
funny.
it once or twice as well in Ending B because Ending B gives you a lot more side character perspective,
Sure.
and
Yeah.
all those side character perspectives are told through black screen white text.
Oh,
So it
that's
comes back
funny.
a lot more
Yeah.
in Ending B, but again, that feels like we don't have the time, we don't have the money, the budget, the whatever to like really
Yeah.
full in and make full fledged cutscenes for all these things that are the second time beating the game.
I remember with Automata, I think the thing they did for your second time through is they gave a little cutscene before the bosses to figure to, like that would give context to the bosses.
Yep, it does that too.
So it looks like it seems like they got a little bit more budget. It is kind of cool. It does feel like these games are sort of building from what I understand. Did you after you play this and maybe you saw? I know you saw Ending E on YouTube. Did it kind of go to like, well, Nier 3 is definitely coming, or is it just kind of wraps up more Nier 1 lore?
I don't. There's nothing that I would like point to directly and go, "Oh, I need more about
Yeah.
that." It's more of a because again, it does all take place before Automata. So,
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
ending E. If you've seen like clips from this and you've seen like Automata, ending E starts to match Automata's style a little bit more
Oh, okay, sure.
without giving
Yeah.
too much away. But ending E starts to kind of transition from what Nier Replicant looks like to what Nier Automata looks like.
Oh,
If
that's
that
kind of cool. Nice.
gives you an
Yeah.
idea. But that would be the biggest thing there. Um, but yeah, the only thing that kind of drove me crazy is there's no fast travel in this game,
Yeah.
and the game's like cheeky about it, which
Oh,
really pisses me off. Like
yeah.
there's one point where like Grimoire Weiss, the book who's on your side, there's like or no, sorry, your character's like, it'd be so nice if we could just figure out some way to just like use our magic to teleport back to our home, and he's like, they've tried it, you die instantly if you ever attempt to teleport, and you're like, all right,
That's
so
funny.
that's you telling me there's no fast travel. Eventually you get a boat that is like pretty worthless that will like, yeah, it takes you to
Yeah.
like 3 spots, and it's like, oh,
Oh.
okay, this is not helpful. And there's another quest that you do where literally you go to, and it's a main story quest, and you go from one town to the next and then back. I think you have to go back and forth twice in this quest. And again, like the book's like, wouldn't it be so nice if one of these people would have an errand for the person in the same town? And you're like,
Oh, that's.
yes, it would, yes, it would, book, yes, it would. Um,
I feel like a game needs to be really, really good to do something purposefully annoying. But I'm wondering it might just be the other way around, where there's like, we haven't figured out a way to address this, so let's just make a joke about it and keep moving.
and that's kind of what it felt like. And again, it's not like a huge deal. It's just one of those things that by the end, because there are really only 5 or 6 locations, and you kind of go through them in part A. You go through, or sorry, you go through them in the first part, go through them in the second part. You go back through them again for ending B. It's
Yeah.
just one of those things where it's just like, okay, like if we can just speed up the like time it takes me to like walk across kind of the like open worldy hub part of this, it would make my life so much easier. But it's just it's a good game. It's a super interesting game. It's a super weird game. I think it's one of those things where if you're into just kind of weird, what the hell is going on? This is all kind of funky stuff.
Yeah.
I think you'd really like it. If you're kind of more of a straightforward, just give me my story, tell me what I'm doing, let's go. Not the stuff for you. I think
Sure.
you really need to have the patience to wait things out, understand that it's building, and I think again, I I think you have to play through it twice. The differences
Yeah.
from C and D are not huge outside of the ending cutscene, but ending B
Yeah.
is drastically different in what it does for the game. So I definitely think if you're gonna play this, you need to be committed to playing it through once, and then again, ending B, you only play the back half, and you
Yeah.
keep. It's like New Game Plus, so you keep all of your weapons, all of your levels, everything else. So it did take me about half the time to go through it the second time, but
Oh,
I
nice.
definitely think you need to go through A and B if you want the full Nier Replicant experience.
Nice. I I'm so curious about this game. So I really liked I enjoyed Automata, and I just like the writing in these games. So, and basically, I'm right now. It's like if Nier 3 is clearly a Nier 1 sequel, then I guess I'll have to go through Nier 1.
I mean, I would recommend it. If you thought
Yeah,
Automata was good in any way, I think you'll still get a kick out of this. I don't.
nice.
I again, Automata is one of those games where I think I have such a weird like, did I like it? Did I not like it?
Yeah,
And finishing this, I felt no worse about this game than I do about Automata. I think they're probably
yeah,
on par with each other. So if you liked Automata,
nice,
I think for sure give it a shot.
cool.
But we are Workforce Gaming. You can follow us on Twitter at Workforce Gaming. Subscribe to us wherever you're listening, and we will see you later.
Bye.